You know what debate we don't have to have anymore? Patrick Mahomes is the best football player in the NFL. See, if you say in the NFL, that eliminates all the Brady comparisons and everything else that everybody wants to do. Mm-hmm. And we can just sit there and say, bet against that guy at your own risk. There's a reason why we made the rule earlier this postseason that you don't pick against Patrick Mahomes. And I'll tell you right now, we had some moments where we were a little nervous about that rule. There were some moments where it's like, maybe we should have, when they're down 10, when they're basically getting absolutely nothing going on the offensive side of the football through the entire first half. There were some moments, but it's obvious now the rest of the NFL is chasing that guy. And Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce, and the Kansas City Chiefs. Final score 25-22. If you listened to the show on Friday, I did pick I picked something like 24-21 is what I said. I'm counting 25-22 as something like 24-21.
It's pretty close.
And I'm moving on. If you picked against him, you should feel a little foolish today. And I call that Brady land. Because if you've ever picked against Tom Brady and then Tom Brady won, I've been there. Many of us have. You feel kind of foolish. You're like, you know what? Probably should have saw that the greatest winner the sport had ever seen might win. Mahomes is in Brady land, which means if you pick against him and you lose, you're going to feel foolish. It's the risk you take. Then there's the other writing on the wall that we haven't quite heard yet, which is about the Kansas City defense. Everybody wants to talk legacy. You want to talk Kelce. You want to talk Reid. You want to talk Mahomes. I get you, but I actually think this is the first time Mahomes gave back some of his argument in the Brady conversation or in the Manning conversation or some of these other conversations. And that is, this is a defensive Super Bowl. Up until this point, when Brady has entered the conversation, or when Mahomes, I should say, has entered the conversation with Brady, one of the feathers in the cap of Mahomes is Brady was carried to a couple Super Bowls by the defense. Mahomes had always been the driving force. This year, the defense was the driving force. Right up until about the halftime of the Super Bowl, the defense was the driving force for Kansas City. The defense carried the offense this year, and that means Mahomes, in many ways, got to ride to a Super Bowl. Just like Brady, his first especially, rode to a Super Bowl. Until the second half. So I'm actually looking at this going, yes, Mahomes is one step closer to Brady. And there's a lot that other teams, Panthers, can learn about watching both of these teams. Right? What do I always say? A smart person learns from their own mistakes. A wise person learns from the mistakes of others. There's a lot the Panthers and everyone can learn from watching the Chiefs and can learn from watching the San Francisco 49ers. But there's one thing that you can't teach, and it's what the Chiefs have. It's just that thing, right? It's just that Frankenstein in the horror movie walking behind your intended victim, right? No matter how fast they run, you're just walking and gaining ground.
Just straight Mike Myers.
Kyle Shanahan, after the game, said he never felt comfortable with a lead against Kansas City.
And this is my second game as a head coach. I think when you go against guys like Tom Brady and Pat Mahomes, you better never feel comfortable with the lead. I mean, those are two of the best players to ever play the game. And that's why whether you have a lead or you're down points, those guys are always in it.
Yeah, I'd say so. The craziest stats, we can bring up stats till we're blue in the face. The craziest stats are the falling behind double-digit stats. When Mahomes and the Chiefs fall behind double digits, they win at an astronomical rate. That is unfair. 3 Super Bowls behind double digits. That's unfair. And by the way, the Niners are really good. Let's make sure everybody is aware of that. Fred Warner is really good. Bosa is really good. The rest of their defensive front, even Chase Young made some plays. To the dismay of every Washington Commanders fan, going, now you wanna?
Now you wanna actually hustle.
That offense had Deebo Samuel get hurt and come back, had George Kittle get hurt and come back, and they were just working with Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk as the 2 healthy guys, which would have been the best offensive weapon on most teams. Those two guys would be a massive upgrade on number 1 and number 2 option on most teams. They were the default because the other two of the top 4 were hurt. Let's hear what Andy Reid's halftime speech was about. This is Andy Reid on what he told his team at halftime.
I didn't say a whole lot, just keep going. Halftime, we're right there. It feels, when you're in the Super Bowl, you're down by 7 points, it feels like 20. And so you got to just kind of calm it down, and we're right there. We're getting the ball to start the second half, and everybody just hang with each other, and good things can happen.
Not quite. I'll tell you what. It felt like you were down by more than 7 because you should have been down by more than 7. The thing that we're going to talk about a lot with the Niners today is it was a death by 100 paper cuts for the San Francisco 49ers. They severely outplayed the Chiefs in the first half, and they were only up 7. That's the problem. The Chiefs going, wow, it felt like we were down 24. I had to tell them we were only down 7. Probably because you should have been down 14 or 17 points, but you were only down 7. That's a victory. When you get outplayed like that, you're usually down by more than that, which is we've seen it be the downfall of so many teams against quarterbacks like that, right? When you have the opportunity to put them away or to put distance between you, you have to put them away and put the most amount of distance between them and you. You can't dilly-dally.
You can apply that to any sport.
Yeah. There are certain guys, certain ladies out there in sports where if you have the chance to put them away, you better put them away, because if you leave the door ajar, they will burst through it. I love Andy Reid going like, I'd tell him we were right there. You were right there. It was a 1-score game. You shouldn't have been, but you did. So it's not even like, I had to convince him we were close. It's like you were close. You were close, and that's the detriment of the San Francisco 49ers. Final score, 25-22. We death by 1,000 paper cuts. 2 special teams miscues. The punt return that fell off the blocker's ankle, the blocked extra point. Penalties. Trent Williams had 2 on back-to-back plays. You can't have that. Questionable coaching decisions. There were a couple times you needed a timeout. Maybe you should have gone for the jugular at the beginning of overtime. Maybe you should have let them take the ball first out of overtime. There was a lot. Maybe you should have given the ball to Christian McCaffrey more in that wasted desert area you had in the second half, where you forgot that you had the best offensive player on your team, Christian McCaffrey. There was a lot of little details they could have gotten to, and if you don't take care of the details, the Kansas City Chiefs will make you pay. How do I know that? Because they do it every gosh darn time. The last time you were in the Super Bowl, I don't think people recognize how many times the San Francisco 49ers in their 2 Super Bowls against the Kansas City Chiefs had the Chiefs down to their final play. If Jimmy Garoppolo back in the last one completes a deep ball to Emmanuel Sanders, who was open, the Niners win. If Brock Purdy completes a deep ball to Deebo Samuel, who was open, the Niners win. Suddenly Patrick Mahomes is 1-3 in Super Bowls. Kyle Shanahan's a 2-time Super Bowl winning coach.
It's a lot different tune.
It's a lot of sliding doors. But it comes down to the details. And for Patrick Mahomes, he finds a way to do it at the end.